Hey guys, Dahmer's Cool Stuff here, and this is a video response to EDT1138 and MikeGartner's Top 3 Tuesday question, which is basically your top 3 games that feature aliens. So, my list was very current gen. I didn't think it would be, but it wound up being it. But my number 3 game more than makes up for it. It's one of the seminal classics on the Nintendo Entertainment System. That being Metroid. I remember playing this game when I was a kid, and just the sense of exploration that took place in this game. The fact that you can find newer, powerful weapons, you can increase your health, you can increase the amount of missiles that you can carry. The 3, technically speaking, boss fights in the game. The world was huge. So huge that I know I had to have graph paper, and we mapped out everything that we could with arrows and whatnot, pointing to locations of certain things. Also introduced God mode codes. I know recently Narpus Sword was discovered, but also my first God mode code ever came from this game, and that was the Justin Bailey code, which was actually the first time I actually got to find out that the guy I was playing in this game wasn't a guy. You're playing a woman. That's when I discovered Samus was a woman, and that was actually kind of like the biggest what? Moment in my young childhood life. Number 2, I thought was actually going to be number 1, but then I really considered and thought about it, and I was like, no, this has to be number 2. It is an original Xbox game, but I have the Anniversary Edition, that being the first Halo game. The first Halo game, Combat Evolved, was phenomenal. And I forgot how good it was. And then I picked up the Anniversary Edition. I no longer own the original, but I do intend on buying it again. But the Anniversary Edition really showed me how great of a game the first Halo was. It had it had the weapon combat, it had vehicle combat. It also had the Covenant. The grunts were the humor, they made you laugh a little bit, but everything else other than a grunt, they were badass. They were really badass. They were actually a really badass species hell-bent on the destruction of humanity. And then all that gets flipped with the Flood. The first time you encountered a Flood in this game, it's actually kind of a frightening moment. And that's when the game takes a turn into the horror aspect. So not only do you have sci-fi and have futuristic weapons and vehicle combat, and a halfway decent story for a console first-person shooter, but now you're throwing horror aspects into it, and zombies, technically speaking. So yeah, the first Halo game kind of had a lot going on for it, and I forgot how great of a game it was when I picked up the Anniversary Edition. If you haven't done so, do so. It's a great game. My number 1 game on this list isn't a game, it's a trilogy of games. It's the Mass Effect series. I couldn't choose which one, so I chose all 3. Now, I will freely admit, the first game is really RPG heavy. It's a RPG that's using guns, space guns, so to speak, instead of swords. The second game kind of ditches that hardcore RPG aspect, but fixes the combat, so to speak, which is a nice touch. By the third game, where's the RPG? But it doesn't matter. The story that it weaves until the end of the third game, and even then I still respect the way the story ended, because that's how they wanted to end it, I hope, really drove me to continue playing for, oh, I don't know, 150 to 200 hours that I played these games combined. I love how decisions you made in the first game affect the second game, and decisions that you made in the first 2 games somewhat affect the third game. So it has this sense of continuity. By the time I got to the third game, small inconsequential decisions that I thought I made in the first game actually had somewhat of a big impact in the third. So that's the power of the story of the Mass Effect franchise. And that was my top 3 Tuesday response for EDT1138 and MikeGartner. And on a side note, I'd like to thank EDT1138 for doing these top 3 Tuesdays. It's gotten the community together, and we actually watch each other's videos. I discovered a lot of great YouTubers because of Top 3 Tuesday. So thank you very much, Ed, for doing this for us. And this is Dahmer's Cool Stuff, and as always, do good gaming.